Oh, damn, you got in just in time. Just like literally started the live stream.
Awesome.
Let's see if it's working. Yeah, I think. Oh, there you are. Okay. I think it's good. Yeah. Hello.
I got something in my throat and I can't find my water.
Oh no. I believe Splash is coming. I saw them briefly yesterday in process group. Um, oh, I don't know if you had your headphones on. Did you
I
hear
do
me?
now.
Okay,
No,
cool.
I didn't hear you for anything else.
I was just saying that I think Splash is coming because I just saw them yesterday in process group.
Okay.
I don't know if you wanted. Why would you? Oh, there you are. I'm wondering if we could wait to do the opening,
Cool.
maybe.
Um, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. And I realized one other thing that I was like, oh, even though we decided to start doing 7 o'clock start or 5 o'clock starting on the hour, um,
Mhm.
I hadn't changed any of my behaviors to be here earlier to like help for things to be set. And so I was thinking about that a couple minutes ago when I was going to the bathroom getting ready to come. Um, so that's a thing to address. Another thing to I don't know. That's the thing to address. Another thing is
Just add this.
with that being a thing to address, that puts me in a good space for today to be kind of flexy weird in terms of when we start and I don't know. It
Mhm.
just that's one of the things that um had become a entangler in charge of a thing and responsible for a thing.
For the which part like the starting of the stream and the opening of the TFT. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna add that. I'll add it to the agenda. Also, my view changed. All of a sudden, like we're on top of each other. I prefer it like side by side. What
Oh,
happened? Oh, it's because I had the chat open. Um, okay, I don't know why we used to not do that, but they just updated the Zoom. Anyway, so should we talk about that in our check-ins?
yeah, yeah, that's great.
Okay. Or updates announcements. Updates
Wait, did
announcements.
it has
Oh,
either I like that. Updates and announcements, yeah.
okay. Okay. Okay, here's Flash.
Here's one.
What was I gonna say about it? The opening, starting of TOT.
Oh, yeah.
Uh revisit starting of TOT. All right, well now that Splash is here, sort of,
Okay.
although their name isn't changed, just
Now
FYI.
that Splash is up is getting here. Getting getting here,
Arriving,
coming,
slowly arriving,
arriving.
arriving the slits. Oh, do we gonna do the slits again?
No.
Maybe.
Oh, hi, Splash.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Um, shall we do the opening? Shall we open the TFT? Shall we form the TFT for today?
Yeah, Splash, for the record, we haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go this way because
Have we
Splash
been
is on.
streaming this? Have we been streaming during this?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I started at 5 or like, almost
That's awesome.
5:01.
I'm gonna see in case. Let's try to.
I'm also
Okay.
curious what view is on YouTube. Like, is
Yeah.
it like my
Okay, this is my
See, this
correct.
is me. Like, this is
Oh, this is
like,
actually you touching people? I wasn't
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm touching one person, but I can't touch both of you. So
oh,
this is good.
okay.
All right. It depends on how you have your window set too. All right.
Yeah, totally. I guess we can all set our. I didn't realize this, but you can move your Zoom window. Oh wait, did we just open it? Did we just start the TFT? Is that it? We're just like, okay.
Can we
Well,
do
the
the spoken thing?
Yeah, where is the text? I don't have the minutes.
Oh, here, let me put it. I put it in the chat, but you weren't
I'm
here.
gonna and I'm gonna I'm gonna paste the
Okay, here's this. So this is the agenda. Oh, you have the text. I was wondering where that was. Okay. Gesture.
Am I doing it? Or is someone else doing it?
Oh, I was thinking you were gonna do it, but
Yeah.
we can else someone else can too.
I don't feel like I'm here yet. I guess maybe this is a way to feel like I'm here. We gathered and entangled, feeling and witnessing, evolving. We gather and entangle. We arrive and center to world together in the deepest presence we can manage. We suspend our self-coercion under dominating structures such as time and any categories we may have been assigned to, and any other commitments we may feel bound to. Oh, that's an interesting thing to talk about. We speak with the world in confidence, in trust. We world to co-create with the universe, which we meet halfway as slits of a diffraction apparatus. Again,
TFT of oh yeah, we forgot to say the date. It's July 8th,
wow.
5:08 p.m. Pacific time.
those are exactly the dominating structures of time that we're liberating ourselves from for the next 2 hours.
Totally. I just like reinstated them. Um, okay, so for check-ins, wait, can we do private check-ins? I'm having a moment here.
Let's do it.
Okay,
Let's go.
I'm having private. I'll tell you why.
Let's go.
Anyone who is watching, we're doing check-ins privately, so we will disappear for maybe 5 minutes. I don't know.
No, we don't even know it. It's not even gonna have a minute
Oh yeah,
time
we're
on
supposed to.
it.
What is I say? We're supposed to boundize ourselves from like the structures of time, chrononormative time structures.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will be back. Hopefully, maybe not, but probably. Okay, so I'm gonna make a breakout room. I gotta make a breakout room. Okay. Wait, how do I? I think it's kind of changed on here. Here
I
we
just
go.
updated my Zoom.
Oh, is Zoom really? Mine is not different yet. I'm still in familiar Zoom.
Hmm. Okay, so I'm gonna assign both of you to room one, and then I'll enter because I can't assign myself.
Okay.
So they're open now, I
Okay.
believe.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna join. Okay, bye. If anyone's watching, we'll be back. BRB. Oh, oops. Well, I guess it didn't bring all you in.
Oh,
I did?
yeah, it just took. I left after land, but got there before land.
It's because you're updated.
I guess.
I'm the outdated slow model of Zoom.
Okay, now I'm gonna record. This recording is just for us, since it's also recorded on YouTube. All right, we're back. If anyone's watching or the archive. And so we just did our check-ins in a private breakout room. And we are coming back in, and we can share after our processing, we can share the slit that we are in today's diffraction apparatus.
My slit is the shape of the crack of an egg.
My slit's a wide open hole, but most of it is filled with a kind of gel-like membrane, except for a narrow slice or slit in that membrane that is completely permeable.
And my slit is now I can only think of the TSA shit, the airport check.
Sorry.
My slit is TSA. No, it's or the bathroom stall. So it's a slit. So so there's a slit, but like the cut of the slit, like if you were to like say there was like now I'm thinking about membranes. There's like a wall or whatever. You cut the slit, the thing that was like the slit that now forms a slit is like the out. Oh my God. It's like it's like a door. Okay, the reason why, because I don't want to use any of those words. I don't want to, for some reason, I don't want to use door or like or like
How about flap?
the flap. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, it's like a flap. Like the flap is like a few, I guess, inches, maybe 6 inches in front of my slit. Like the flap.
Ooh.
So it's like there is a like this. So it might appear like there isn't a slit, but there is if you kind of like go to one side, and it can also easily get around the seeming obstruction to the slit. I feel like our slits are all kind of like there's a crack, like literally a crack. Then there's like a slit that's like permeable, but only a tiny little slit in the membrane that's not. And then my slit has like this obstruction in front of it. I feel like as a diffraction apparatus, it's interesting what we're forming.
I like this exercise.
Me too.
Updates and announcements.
Oh yes.
Is that appropriate
Okay.
now?
Yeah. Thank you for doing that. And so yeah, so I reached out to Saffron, and she had just submitted her gut test yesterday. So
Awesome.
so we'll just wait. I'll get an email when the results come, and then once we get those results, and then the question was if we wanted to have a discussion with us first with the data that we have, if I remember correctly, before we then reach out to tinyhealth to get a consultation. Is that? Yeah.
Yeah, I looked into I did research on my end about how available the consultation is, and our Tiny Plus membership lasts until December 31st. And we have one consultation with our Tiny Plus membership. So we have until December 31st. It seems. I haven't talked to anybody directly to validate it for ours, but according to all the information, that makes sense to me that we have until the 31st of December to have our one consultation call. And that one call can only be for one test. And so that I mean we can what was your
I thought in your communication, and what I remember, I thought in your communications, the person said that because it's like a family, we got the family plan, and so that we could, or no, you're right. Because then I think we had to purchase additional consultations.
I remember there being something in the correspondence, and I don't remember the degree to which what the flexibility was, what the result of it. I'm curious.
Like Matt, I feel like they did say something like that. But what is it okay if I say something while you're looking?
Yeah.
So the other updates are the Thinky Feely radio show, which is supposed to be July 21st. I mean, it is July 21st. In the last meeting, we were talking about because Saffron can't make the radio show in August or September. So I just wanted to, I don't know, maybe I should reach out to Gradient and ask about that. And then also Splash offered or suggested that we could also do another kind of pre-recorded. Yeah. I mean, my thing is that I would like Saffron to be part of the full thing. Because like as it is now, I believe we're gonna do part 2 in the next radio show and part 3 and then one after. But the part 3 one, I mean, it would be nice to have Saffron for all the parts. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm putting in the action item. Because we have a text thread. Is it okay, Lamb, if I add you to our text?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for asking.
So I'm gonna put that in the action items in the agenda.
What time is our broadcast? When do we do it live?
It's 6 to 7, I believe, right? / 6 to 7
Yeah.
Pacific time. Yeah.
Okay.
Action item. Group. And then through the text, we're going to figure out this thing about the radio show. Okay, so the other thing was something that I just added in a discussion or like a combo that Lampshift and I were having before you came, Splash, about like the starting of TFT. And so they were saying that I mean, I don't know if you want to share, Lampshift, what you were saying.
Yeah, I was saying that I've been like, okay, I'll show up at TFT whenever at 7 o'clock in Arkansas, whenever TFT starts. And then it was today that I was like, oh, wait, in order for things to start at 7, there needs to be somebody here ahead of time to make sure that the YouTube is ready to start,
Yeah.
And so far, Entangler has been the person showing up and doing that. But with shifted expectations on my part, I can be here 5 minutes ahead of the hour or 10 minutes ahead of the hour and be available for that. Instead, that's the much more concise way of saying what I started saying earlier in Entangler. Or the more direct thing that there's also conversation surrounding that we can have as well. But
yeah, I think this leads into the conversation that we were having in the chat, right? In the breakout room, not chat. So maybe it can kind of go all into that. Yeah. And is that a discussion that you all want to have now? Or there's also the things that Lampshift put in the email about things that we can discuss and
What are we talking about?
so we could either maybe talk about what we were talking about in the breakout room in terms of like, and this is going from past discussions about the structure doming us, like that, and like, and so I think what Lamshift brought up is part of that discussion in terms, like who gets here earlier, like how are we letting this structure dom us? Because like I'm not getting here early, or something, whatever whatever the thing is happening. I think I'm interested in that conversation because I have always struggled as the dom. I mean, I can do I'm also rethinking when I say admin dom. I don't know if I'm an admin dom. I think I'm more of like an admin service bottom or something, like I don't like the okay, you agree, Slash, good. Because like I think that like an admin dom would not, I imagine, would not be so have struggled so much with power, like which is something that like I struggle with. It comes in my teaching. It's come up many times in Rev school. I feel it here in process group and all. So that's like I'm interested in that discussion for that reason because I feel like that maybe me in this role is not working or something. But then it's like who's going to do it? I don't know. So I'd be curious about that. But there's also other things that Lamship you presented as well in the email.
Yeah, could we have um I'm trying to I wrote that out in terms of like what that conversation could be and what the other like is there a way that we can still make progress on our description of ourselves or like that feels good, even that feels good for both of y'all for us to make some progress on our description thing. I guess I want just to have that check in with myself and to check in with both of y'all about like uh before we like get before we turn our attention towards like before we spend the rest of our time turning the attention towards like how we do things um in contrast to whenever we have our attention towards doing something.
Aha, it's a stick thing. Are we
Yeah,
going to use the stick?
Yeah.
Or are we going to examine the stick? We're going to use the stick?
Yeah.
We're going to use ourselves, we're going to examine ourselves. We can't do both at the same time, according to Barad and other physicists. I mean, it sounds like lamb shift. From what you were saying, it sounded like you want it. You want there to be time to use us, to use the TFT.
I was just uncomfortable with not checking in about that, with doing that without quite choosing to do it, without totally consciously choosing to do it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so one of the things I'm thinking about is like where we know what the homework assignment is and like have there's time between now and next time to like pull stuff together from that and for me to come up with a structure for us to do that, for us to be performing as a diffraction apparatus in that way.
Thank you for saying that because I'm going to send out the email again, like
Okay.
right after this meeting, not like days before, like 2 days before the meeting, letting everyone know like we didn't do it today, but it's like pushed back. So now here's the homework assignment. So thanks for saying that.
Okay.
I was thinking about spending time with the transcript, or like with that Vimeo view that shows the transcript alongside the video. But I think because we did that a long time ago, but I wanted to do it for myself. But I'm, I guess I am. Maybe I'm crocheting too hard to be present. You could take a break from crochet.
That's so funny because I was just thinking about you crocheting and like what you were crocheting, and I'm like, oh,
I think it's keeping me from. Sometimes it helps me be present, but right now it's not. So
One thing I thought of when you said that was you doing the you reading our ritualistic sort of thing at the start of this. And it was a really special experience for me, and I really enjoyed the experience of listening to you say that when you listening to recite that when you weren't feeling particularly like present enough to recite it. That was really that was a really great experience for me. So
what did you experience?
um like it's all good and we don't have to fake it in terms of like presence and focus, and we can still be here and like engage in it. And and in the way that you came into that and spoke to it before you started reciting it, I had it had created expectation in my mind of like a certain behaviors of distractedness or something throughout the rest of our time today. And then I just completely forgot about it until you then said something about maybe you're crocheting too hard. And I was like, wait, what? Wait, how did I forget about that in the past hour? And now you're saying this similar sort of thing again.
If, and I think that I wonder to what degree that is over like an adaptation to a lack of structure.
which part?
The I mean, I think I meant the crocheting, but like whatever, yeah, whatever I'm doing, like yeah, sometimes if there's a lot of like focused talking, then the crochet can be kind of like a focus point for me to like ref, refract everything through. Um, but it's it's very much a listening thing, and at this size, and I'm definitely feeling a call to participate dynamically in shaping, where I think crochet is for absorbing and digesting, and then like you know bringing forth some like semi-digested processed response, which is a mode that it's a role that I often play in group conversations of not saying much and then like swooping in and saying something that like people spend the next 20 minutes discussing what I just said again without me participating, like often like discussing like what I meant when I said that, which is kind of weird, um, but also kind of thrilling. Um, and right now I don't feel like I'm building on enough structure to be able to say like, I mean, other than to say that like I feel a hunger for a bit more structure to be dominated by.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I don't have a. It makes me curious. Makes me want to ask the question of all of us, like, what are some characteristics of a well-held space that we've experienced?
Mm.
What kind of structure do we want to be dominated by? Do we feel what makes us feel expansive? What makes us feel um, unleashed. And present. I've been trying to get in the habit of turning on captions in all of my work meetings, because I don't pay full attention in work meetings, and like captions are such a great accessibility thing for the wandering attention.
There's so many things that in what you said that's making me like, first of all, I'm thinking about like just like context and entanglements and like how, the crochet, like, so the crochet, how it does different things in different contexts, you know? And so it's like, oh, it's just like another reminder that like, oh yeah, there's not like an intrinsic kind of value to anything or like an inherent, you know, like it really is dependent on like what is happening, like what's entangled, like what are the what conversations, what are the bodies, what's the energy, what's the structure, you know, all that stuff that gets the crocheting to when you are engaging in the crocheting, it like can have such that different, like almost opposite effects depending on that context. I think that's like really interesting. I was also thinking about like silent, like because you said like you don't like often like might not talk and then you say something, and I always think like silence is power, you know, like when someone isn't like, you know, like someone is generally doesn't talk, and then when they talk it's like, oh, this person's talking, you know, so like the power in that too, thinking about that. And then also like the structure and your question about like what are examples of like different kind of events or things that we've gone to in which like we felt like we could like it was the structure of it or whatever allowed or fostered a certain kind of participation or enthusiasm to participate. And that also is like, I think also depend on context and like, you know, like,
of course,
yeah, and also like the bodies who are there, you know, so it's not only the structure, but like, you know, and then, you know, since we're, you know, I know this is TFT, but we were also talking about like doing the RevCon and then like thinking about the DomCon model versus like the unconvention, like the rope and space unconvention model, right? And like they both have like, they're both structured, and the structuring is like with time and space, you know, like even the unconvention or the rope and space kind of like still had a structure that was timed and had specific space, right? The thing that wasn't structured was the content. And then, but with the DomCom, everything was pretty pre-planned for the most part. And like both of them, I felt like enthusiastic to participate. But the rope in space is the one that I felt, I mean, it could also be the size of it. It was much smaller, you know, it's not in a hotel and, you know, all that contributes to it well. But I think because the content was like co-created, co-produced, and it was more emergent, and also because the people were there, like the participation for me felt more like I was more kind of invested, or at least I felt more of a belonging or something. Yeah. But that could be many factors other than just like the difference of like having the content predetermined or not or something. So I'm sure like and that's something that, you know, it like that great dancer talks about in terms of the rope and space, in terms of it being like it's made up of the people who show up, meaning so it could be very different depending on the people who show up. Can I ask a question? Like, what about parties? I'm also like thinking, kind of like, what are other things that I go to that are not structured? You know, like you go to like like, this is like, I mean, it's, we're talking about whether it's structured or not, but like the idea is that it is supposed to be like you go and we're doing this thing, or like go to DomCom or open space, or you go to this thing and then that. But then the thing, I'm like, what are the things that are not structured? I don't know, like a party or something. And those are super uncomfortable for me. I don't know. Or like art openings.
Art openings, yeah. So I feel like a party. In fact, I feel like the art openings I've been to have like a really deformed version of the structure that I think a good party has. And I'm speaking again of my old roommates' house parties, my housemates' house parties, where like in the kitchen there's a pot of soup and the fridge where people can put drinks. In the living room there's the DJ and speakers, and in the and sort of dancing in the living room and dining rooms. And then upstairs in my room is the chill room where people can go to get away from the noise and the dance, to have some quiet and some decompression. And like that structure of like supporting this range of bodily needs and joys. Um, Plus, I guess the drag shows or whatever performance we have at the party, like there's like also and like yeah, party like a concert has like house music, opening band, headliner, right? As like a minimum thing, and like and then house music in between the acts.
There in
And
all
it's a
those
structure we really
instances,
rely on.
yeah, all those it's like all of it's like structured time and space. Like you're the
Mhm,
party, right? So it's like each room has a thing. The food is in this room, and this is so like
mhm.
it seems like having attending to the structuring of time and space is the thing, and it doesn't necessarily matter if one. I think one could have a good time without whether the content is structured or not. Does that make sense? Or at least loosely, like there's themes or like subjects or like titles, right?
That's intriguing to me because when I was thinking about spaces with a supportive structure, I can only think of like in like explicitly uh, facilitated spaces, like in a physical room. Like I think there is a time and space component that I really miss in a Zoom world, um, in particular. And I like it's like I think I think still rely on literal physical structures in time and space for so much of my like trust in a moment or something.
I want to read something from a book I've been reading lately because I've been reading historical materialism. I'm trying to
Oh,
learn like actually like learn and study Marxism right now. And there's a bit that there have been several bits where I'm like, thinky feely tank, fucking diffraction, da 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 da. And I want to read about unorganized versus organized societies.
Mm.
Are y'all down?
yes, yes,
Okay.
please.
In an unorganized society, the result obtained, aka social phenomenon, does not coincide with the wishes of many persons. Social phenomena are independent of the consciousness, the feeling, and the will of individuals. The social product of this will does not coincide with the objects that are proposed by many persons, and sometimes is even in direct contradiction with those objects. It follows that in unorganized society, as well as in any other society, events are accomplished not outside the will of the individuals, but through their will. In this case, the individual man is subject to an unconscious natural process, which is the product of the individual wills. Um, and then that's contrasted to an organized society, communist society being an example of an organized society. The people in the society, their common action, their common resolution, these are already a collective product. But this product is not an external, crude, elemental force flying in the face of the individual desires. On the contrary, it constitutes an enhanced possibility of each individual's attaining their desire. 5 people resolve to lift a stone together. Alone, none of them could lift it. Together, they do it without difficulty. This was written in 1920, published in 1925, I think. And I'm like, oh fuck, like he's literally saying that like social social phenomena are always diffractive of the wills of the people. But in an unorganized society, it's diffractive against like what each person is really wanting, what most people are actually wanting. But in an organized society, our desires and what we're wanting from our society are fulfilled by the diffractive pattern that we are forming from all of our individual wills.
Is there an example of that happening in the world? Or is that like just like a theoretical thing? Or is it like because
yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel like we're in kind of like the first in that I feel like we are living out the structures from one person or like, a group of people who share similar IDs or something. Does that make sense? That's
Okay.
I was distracted and I'm not distracted. I was just skimming to see like later he goes into say like, so for example, but he speaks he speaks with a lot of examples that are still like made up examples, like illustrative examples. Could you say what you said again, Entangler?
I was just wanted to have an example of a organized
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I feel like we are an organized society here, like Thinky Feely Tank. Like this is part of the reason I was thinking of it is like whenever we determine a structure that will be that is a like that is all of our wills, all of our differing wills, diffracting with each other, but we're doing it in a way that is because we're doing it in an organized way, that means that the structure that we're all experiencing, or the structure that we're all experiencing this moment through, is like one that we jive with, and that like furthers our like goals and our desires and that sort of thing. I don't know. Does it? What are you thinking whenever you're like wanting for a? Is that like a skepticism in you, or is that like a I don't quite understand what it's talking about, and so
it's maybe a little of both, but more the
Yeah.
latter. Like I think I was like maybe a little skeptical because I didn't really understand, or like I wanted to know if there really was in existence what you read in terms of describing an organized thing. But it's helpful for you then to say like, oh, you think TFT here in this space is an organized system, because that makes more sense.
and sometimes we're disorganized. Like right now, what we're talking about is like the ways that we're disorganized. Because the social phenomena of like how we are gathering is not actually a reflection, is a diffraction, but not a diffraction that's in alignment with all of our individual wills. Even if we have aligned individual wills, it's still diffracting in a way that like
yeah, maybe this is going back to the whole individual question. The individual. Do you all believe that we should? This is gonna sound funny. Like I have I was gonna say that we should believe the individual, or like continue with the individual, like that there is an individual. I guess that maybe that's the thing, because I don't know, like this emphasis on like the individual, and we have to respect everyone's individual things, and for me the individual is a product of the what you read from that book and unorganized, in terms of it being like we're living out the structures and the systems that was one person's dream, basically, that then so does that make sense? Oh, the individual.
what you're saying.
The individual is a product of that because like individualism. So then if we're like fixate, if like, and this is the thing with diversity, you know, all this stuff, like how do you get everyone's voice, you know, like, and that's the thing that trips me up the most, I think, in terms of teaching, in terms of like being in a dom position or a position of facilitating, is like this imperative to attend to everyone's individual, you know, needs or like desires, you know, and stuff, because I don't necessarily trust them, I suppose, because they're, for me, products. They're bait, you know, they're basically symbolic universes or like pre-scripted things that people are playing out. Um, yeah, okay, yeah. I'm
I
glad that
see.
you're
And like for example, this is one reasoning why we need a bay. We need a bay that because a bay can help us can help. Yeah. I think I follow. I follow.
de-individualize us or something. I don't know. The individualism project is something that I'm
And the
like we're
example that
still,
you gave of like facilitating or leading in a way that uh that like meets everybody's individual needs or demands with a diverse group of people at a table, and that just like that's just a very different framework or model than what
yeah,
you
because
actually want to be engaging in.
I think that's what we're unconsciously or whatever is the messages that we're given, you know, ranging from like independence, individual in the very kind of like Western global US context, you know, to just like, I mean, the individual runs through everything, like it runs through like even the most radical, some of the most radical kind of like groups or, you know, no, maybe not radical groups, but like that,
Sure.
yeah. And so I'm like, how do we, I feel like to me, that's like the thing, but like, at least for me, that trips me up because I like get very concerned about like taking care of people's feelings or like making sure everyone that, you know, and then that is not serving anyone, you know.
To like what it helped what it what I was like mapping this onto as I was reading it is like my experience within what he's describing as the unorganized society, like the experience of like me and a lot of other people, like we don't want things to be this way, yet things are still this way. And even when we come together, all knowing that we want things to be different, me and all these other people still end up not the thing that the social structure that we create isn't actually still doing what we are all wanting, me and all these other people. And
Mhm.
and then in the examples of an organized thing, like in the like whenever engaging in thinky feely tank is like feels like me and the other folks who are in thinky feely tank right now and who have been building or performing thinky feely tank with, like we are like they're not me and I'm not them, but we're doing something that we're all really enjoying. And so whenever he says individual, like that's or like I don't like Entangler, like what's your experience of like Entangler being here and also Lamshift and Splash being here and that not just mapping onto like Entangler as an individual, Lamshift as an individual, Splash as an individual.
Hmm. Really
Like
good
there because
question.
I want a way to like I want a way
Yeah.
to I want a way that's what individual means to me whenever I think about this is like just a way to distinguish that I'm here with two other people and we're trying to do something.
Um, yeah, yes. And yes, and that is important because I'm like pausing on this because I don't want to take it away from your question to me. I'm just like now have this other.
No, yeah, you can answer that, however.
Okay,
Or you can say whatever you don't need it.
okay.
You don't need to answer the question that I
I
posed.
really like the way you phrased it though, which got me to think about something differently. So I was like,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
gonna ask you to ask the question again, but that the way then how you responded to kind of your own question is like, I was like, oh yes. And then I'm laying to like, oh yes, it's important. But why is that? But why is it important? Because we are? Because we are separate? Are we? Like,
I feel like there are like me coming here versus me being by myself, like there are differences to attend to whenever I'm
oh
hanging out
yeah.
with Entangler and Splash that are not that are not differences that I attend to whenever I'm not with other different people.
Yeah. Okay, okay.
Mhm.
And so that's what the individual is.
That's what it means to me. And I'm like it maps to me. Like like whenever I interpret individual that way, like it like I'm like that checks out.
Hmm. Alex Splash is gonna say something. I'm so curious.
Yeah, I was looking for readings from Careful Militancy relevant to this.
Wait, what is this?
Um,
Show me this book. I'm probably
Oh
gonna read
yeah,
it
because
someday.
you're not on the
yeah, you
thread.
are. Yeah, it's one of my most important texts.
Okay.
I mean,
Joyful militancy. Oh, yeah.
yeah, and it's like little, it's just like it fits in your hand.
Yeah.
It's a sweet little, like it's my little red book.
Yeah.
And it, and I was just, this was driving with some of the stuff. There's a lot of stuff that this talks about. Um, and but I think, you know, but I also like the question of, do we even believe that individuals exist? Where it's like, at our quantum soul level, of course, we are all just like one throb of energy together. But like the combination of the stifling infrastructures of empire and the and the illusions of embodiment, like, do create this phenomenon of individualness that we like, that in groups we can like overcome or like transcend a bit. And so yeah, the whole that we create as the three of us, the whole we create as the six of us when we're on the show, like, these are breaking down some of our individuality as we co-create a thing. It talks about Ivan Illich talking
Do you
about
want to read a little
conviviality.
excerpt?
Yeah, well, yeah, okay, I'll do. So this is the section towards conviviality. It starts with a epigraph by Marina Citrin. Most people who have lived through any moment where formal institutions of power go away or are forced away agree with this point. When left alone, when left with one another, people turn to one another and use forms of mutual aid and support. The wake of the break is a beautiful opening up of possibility. The text resumes. At empire's edges, in its cracks, people are finding each other, recovering subjugated knowledges, revaluing their own traditions, pushing back against discipline and control. In dramatic uprisings and slow shifts, people are reconnecting with their own powers and capacities to make, act, live, and fight together. Conviviality is the name that Illich gives to ways of life that promote flourishing, which are being squeezed out by empire. Quote, I choose the term conviviality to designate the opposite of industrial productivity. I intend it to mean autonomous and creative intercourse among persons, and the intercourse of persons with their environment. And this, in contrast, with the conditioned response of persons to the demands made upon them by others and by a man-made environment. I can consider conviviality to be individual freedom realized in personal interdependence. Individual freedom realized in personal interdependence, and as such, an intrinsic ethical value. This on joy. Conviviality names the creative relationships that emerge between people and their material surroundings, sustained by grassroots trust and responsibility. Conviviality helps clarify that joy is not simply something felt by an individual, but also the effect of enabling assemblages of bodies, tools, gestures, and relationships. It is not about a utopian future or a romantic past, but about breaking from dependence on empire's stifling infrastructures. This is most evident after natural disasters and during insurrections, when some of empire's radical monopolies are dramatically short-circuited.
And that's the thing. I think what Picard is talking about, like, has it to the extent that it's ever existed on a societal level, has been very brief and very very small. Um, but it does exist, in a barn raising or in in the aftermath of a disaster when people come together to do stuff and the and I think the taking away the dominating structures that structure us to keep us separate and to keep us needing to drag our exhausted asses to things like is the work of the revolution.
Mhm.
Thank you for that.
Hmm. Back to the structure stuff. Like, how do you all feel about? I mean, okay, sorry, I just had a moment of remembering about using us, but I'm checking the time. But I am. I mean, the thing that like this like this is something that I learned with the king stuff and all of these types of like there has to be like at least for me like an arousal or a desire, for me to follow then someone, right? Like to let them dominate me or whatever. So like that, and does that necessary for both of you as well? Or is there, I mean, also there's a conditioning. I mean, I think I just like also will go into a space and then if there's like rules, I will just follow them just because I'm just like, I'm here, so I'm just gonna follow the rules. And it's not, and there's no like no desire or arousal in that. So unless it's something like that is asking me to change, like hardcore doing change, which is the thing that we're doing here in TFT and Rev School, which I think is where the Dom subtype dynamic works because a lot of the stuff is stuff that is very hard for me to change. And so like and I maybe wouldn't do it if there wasn't an arousal aspect to it. Yeah.
I was going to talk about Freya Parker and the art of gathering, her book. Um, it's it's about how to have parties and other kinds of things, but like
Yes, yeah.
but it's like the core of it is like any gathering has an implicit purpose, and like the the success of the gathering is to what degree it like can bring about that purpose. And I'm sort of like equating the purpose with the desire, where it's like, yeah, desire, is its own purpose, and like desire like it points to some other purpose of some um like the difference between the desired object and the desire as a source of desire, like where it's like the desired object can like get you to focus on your hunger. Seeing the hamburger makes you want the hamburger, but the desire is your hunger. Um,
Mm-hmm.
um, and so going to a gathering where people are whether implicit or explicit rules and people are like doing them together, like there is some element of shared purpose that is helping people organize in that way, become a more organized micro society for that time.
Mm-hmm. Purpose. Shared purpose.
Yeah, I hearing both of y'all, like hmm, no, I don't have a clear thought or clear words.
Can I say something that's like a little takes it off away from the desire, arousal, purpose aspect of how, you know, how structures or like how gatherings become, I don't know, productive. I'm using this word, I don't really mean it, but productive or doing the thing. The other thing is like do you think that there needs to be like either one person or two or a group of people who are like whose job is to further that structure, you know what I mean? Or to like, you know, present it, maintain it, make sure that it's like adhered to.
Is 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 it right to interpret that as like some people within the bigger group versus it being fully versus it being not assigned, like not assigned and like kind of either like fully distributed amongst the group without like roles of certain parties of the group?
I think that I'm thinking more like whether it's one person or a group of people or the whole group who are ensuring that the structure is maintained. Maybe not enforcing it, but like it's there and reminding people this is here, this is what we're doing. Is that necessary? Either whether it's one person or the whole group or somewhere in between, but there needs to be what that person or persons to kind of make the structure materially present or something. I like I guess a word I could just use it like enforcing, you know, like to, you know, I don't want to use that word, but like basically like enforcing the structure or
I think there needs to be at least one person, and it can be everyone. And I don't think it. And now I'm thinking of the Quaker meetings where like I don't know who sets the rule, who sets the guideline that you're silent unless you have something that will improve on the silence. But like when if someone speaks up in a Quaker meeting, like they're taking that role for the length of whatever follows that is not silence.
but there is someone who's telling you when the time starts and when the time stops for the Quaker meeting worship. So that there's that one person who is doing that. And then so that but whatever happens in between there is like up for grabs. I mean, I tend to think at right now that we do need a person like that or persons, unless it's automated. I had this like actually amazing conversation with Joel about automation. Actually, can I share it? I think it's kind of amazing. So I was like, we were talking about, and maybe it fits into this, but we were talking about like that like because I do these motherfucking MFA fucking reviews that I still have not fucking done. Like I still like, but I'm doing work party on Wednesday with Dan because they're in town and we're gonna bust it out. But still, like I have them over my head, and so like Joel was talking about like, oh yeah, like these things that are always with us, so they're always like present, you know, and like this low level anxiety all the time, which we could do it, but like why don't we do it? And so like we're talking about the things that is for us. Like for Joel, it's like emails, scheduling, da da da. Like that shit's all fine with me. And this is what also when the revelation that when about like, because I'm like, yeah, that's admin Dom stuff. And then I was like, wait, maybe that's not a Dom. That's like something else. And then but for me, it's all like physical stuff, like cleaning the house, like putting away. Like I have this fucking box of like my cat gear that's on this bench for like, I don't know, 2 months. Like, and because like to do that, I had to clean out my dresser and blah. So I'm like, this is why these are the things that could be automated, you know, because I have like these fantasies of automation when things feel like this, that I can't do them. And then Joel was like countered by saying, you know, like this not I don't even know if it was a counter, but just like that's like these are like the most alive things in our life. Like these things, you know, because they're always like print like that fucking MFA reviews are the most alive thing that I'm living with. Because it's always there, it's always you know. And then once he said that, I was like, oh damn, we can't fucking automate that shit. Now we gotta have a motherfucking relationship with it because it's a living thing, you know. But that was like an amazing shift where I was like, oh shit, that's right, it is the most alive thing, which means that maybe, yeah, it needs to be acknowledged as a living thing. Not that living, I mean, I'm fine with being automated personally, but you know. Okay,
It
maybe
is
that's
funny
not.
that this.
No, go on. I would,
Well, yeah. Well, on the automated thing, like that, whoever sets up the automation is the person in charge. Um, even with starting the video, starting the stream, right? Like whoever's doing that is taking the responsibility for holding that container, right? Where I think, yeah, the container of the ritual or the meeting or the space or whatever it is, like does need someone to open and close it or something, or but also, yeah, those things as the most alive things. It's like the email and the MFA, like those are those are connections seeking to be made and kept alive, right? Like that is our interdependence
totally.
staring at us like a whiny dog.
Well, you just like totally added another element that I was not even thinking about. Like, oh yeah, they are actually forms of connection. Like these are how we connect with other people.
Mhm.
Wow.
I don't know about cleaning my house. I guess it's connection with my house.
So it's holding your container.
Mm. I was so sure that I thought it was going to be connected, but maybe it's not. So feel free to go back to our original conversation.
We haven't had like a loose meandering conversation time in a while with Thinky Feely Tank, and it's a nice way to engage with y'all.
Oh.
Especially when
Yeah.
like I know that come next time we have a thing that we're doing.
Are we actually going to do that thing? I'm like starting to like really wonder if we are ever going to come write that description. Like, is it going to happen? Do you believe in your soul and heart it's going to happen? Because I'm not quite sure in my.
It's the thing that's always with us, right?
It's the most alive thing in the TNT fucking own description of itself. Ugh.
I think that it will be fruitful to bring together our favorite moments from TFT1. Whether that yields a description or not, I'm not really invested.
Okay. Shared purpose. This is good. We do not have shared purpose. Like our purposes are different. Wait, so you should making a list of these things, these different like elements that make something function in a way.
Yeah, there's so many.
I'm gonna feed my dog. I can hear. I can hear when you talk.
Okay, you can hear.
Mhm.
When you asked the question about desire in Entangler, I got really clear with myself that like, oh, I'm really, really used to coming. Oh, and when you're talking about like going into a space and following the rules because you're conditioned to follow rules, I was like, I've been totally content, or I've been totally willing and like I've been totally willing to engage in Thinky Feely Tank that way too, of like figuring out what our rules are, or like have the rules that we have, implicit and explicit and always very flexible and uh and malleable and considerate. Um but I've been like so used to that being kind of like the standard for how I engage even in Thinky Feely Tank. like figuring out what the rules are to be, and then showing up as a good kid, like conditioned well to those rules. It's like, oh, what is like we talked about desire when we were like we've had waves as we've been defining what Thinky feely tank is, where we've been like, oh, like how can we really, really be about desire and how we're understanding who we are and what we do. And then Splash, what you added about like desire is different than than the object of desire and that sort of thing. I don't know where that leads me, but I'm not in touch. I like I've been driven and motivated and engaged and enjoying and valuing all of this, and it's been in the mode of coming into a space and being conditioned, like being well conditioned to like figure out rules, know rules, and follow rules and engage in rules. And Entangler, one of the things that I heard from what you were saying is that's quite a different orientation than coming into a space and following desire and being guided by desire. The conditioned to respond to the rules and follow the rules is like agnostic of desire. It's like I can be completely out of touch with my desire and still have a good time and enjoy my time and be doing work that I believe in and really value and want to be doing. But can be doing all that without actually questioning or engaging in or trying to realize what the actual desires in me are.
I always I wanted to ask you about desire, because you brought up desire before in the past when we were kind of talking about this, and wasn't what I got from what you were saying was like, yeah, like kind of what you're saying now, that for you desire isn't so much a part of like why you come, or the thing that is like, yeah, that you're engaging with. Is that true?
Yeah. I forgot that, but I remember I've said that in terms of how I have been engaged in this.
Yeah. And then listening to you, I'm like thinking about like the different, like who, I mean, I think we've all kind of, the funny thing is I think we've all like in one way or another at some point have said we like structure, right? Like we appreciate the structure, right? Like we all like it. I'm like, pleased as a pea to be in some kind of structure, it's great. I love it. But there's something, and then for me, like that structure allows for like me kind of like accepting the structure, submit whatever you want to call it, submitting to it or whatever, like allows for my desire to come, like then my desire gets to play out within the structure. So and sometimes, yes, and I actually think that for me, like the structure allows the desire to come forth, because oftentimes I don't want to do, I mean, I don't hardly ever want to do anything really, but like I do it because it's in my calendar or I scheduled it and I'm like, that's my structure. But every time I go to something, I always learn something. Like one thing I can do is I can get really present in whatever I'm doing, So if I made a commitment to go to this meeting or go to this party's a little harder for me because I think because it's not structured and I tell them like, oh, who do I talk to? What are the conversations supposed to be about? But every other thing I go to, I always learn something, but and then that's why I think I brought in like, oh, it's also dependent on the person who's entering the space, because I made that commitment. Like I made the commitment to like, when I go to something, I'm gonna be present, whatever that means to me, or it would give it my attention. And that is not necessarily the structure of the thing that I'm entering in, but it is a structure that of me, of how I've like
Because the structure is imposed on the situation, like there's
yeah. It's like because we all have our structures, right? Like our structures. So I think like that actually helps my desire to come about,
Can I, is it, I want to, Splash posed a question a while ago. What are some characteristics of a well-structured space that, or this is how I wrote it down. What are some characteristics of a well-structured space that each of us have experienced that could lead to us feeling expansive here in TFT? That's how I kind of framed it in a single question. And then Entangler, when you asked a question about like somebody being like there being a role, or I don't know, that question that you asked about like does there need to be somebody to like enforce the structure?
Mm-mm.
It's like the characteristics of a well-structured space that I've experienced that have I don't know quite what a feeling of expansiveness means for me, but I loved them, and they were also like very profound experiences for me. There is like such there were clear. There was a clear facilitator in one and a clear pair of facilitators in the other. And in one of them, with the one clear facilitator, I would feel like pissed at him, like not like frequently. Because I didn't like how he was doing what he was doing. I didn't like that there was somebody doing what he was doing, as in what he'd do is we'd have conversation would just kind of be like anybody posing questions or sharing something, and most every single time after somebody would say something, the facilitator would give some sort would respond in some way. So everything that was said by every other person was kind of like contained by the facilitator. And still that was a structure for like I don't know what you were saying in Entangler about like how the structure allows for like the experiences that we really like to happen. And even though I was like pissed at him, I like come out of those meetings just be like, damn it, why was he doing it like that? I wish he didn't respond in that way. It felt so limiting. Both like after some time passed after each meeting, and then like in retrospect, and like everything that I learned from those experiences. And they were very like non-authoritarian, like they it didn't feel like a strong authority. I was just like the culture of those spaces and what we were going for was like a very, very expansive aim. Yeah,
Can I ask you two questions about that?
yeah.
Wait, first, is that an example of answer to one of Splash's questions of that? So that wasn't fulfilling.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there a reason why did you want to leave them getting mad at the facilitator? Did you ever want to leave, or you're just like was it like were you mad to the point that you wanted to leave but didn't, or?
I was back to the point where I was really questioning whether I wanted to be there, and being like, is this doing any good? Is this just bullshit? Those are some of the thoughts. I don't um yeah, I think so. I think so. I wouldn't I it doesn't, or maybe not, but that doesn't, but I think kind of one of the something that's similar, or like on the same path as like wanting to leave. I was like feeling really fed up and frustrated and not looking forward to the next time. But then I'd still go.
Interesting. And then you're happy that you went. I mean, like you were glad that you did.
Now, absolutely. And maybe within the next meeting, I might be mad at the facilitator again. But I'd still have like gotten some good stuff too.
Hmm. I have more questions. I have more questions with that one, but I also want to hear your second one. Wasn't there two? There were two?
Oh, the second one. So the second one was like a religious group. It was Queer Shabbat that we'd meet on Zoom every week. And um it was like the structure was the structure was regular, and there was a regular routine to what came after what came after what came after what. And um there were two facilitators who would plan for what we were focusing on each time, but then we also have our routine of like open check-ins or sharing a song at the end of each gathering. But it was very clearly the responsibility of those two people to like determine what each week's discussion and whatnot was going to be about, and also to like hold the space.
Mhm. And you didn't get mad, those facilitators.
No, no.
I do have more questions, but then now I'm also like, just for time to check, I am curious if Flash has examples too, when you pose that question, if you.
It's funny that that's Lem's story brought back for me the like this facilitation training where I learned a training thing and like in this very like really remarkable moment. But like we spent, you know, 2 or 3 hours like going over I forget what. Oh, actually, it was yeah. It came from. I think it descended from aorta, or somehow was related to that. This facilitation training, and it was in a it was in a public library in Seattle, so it was in an embodied space and whatever you want to call it, meet space and
Shared air.
shared air. Yeah. Um, After going through it, they had a like a let's try a fake facilitation. So like let's come together and like let's say we're the meaning of the Unicorn Society of Washington, and we're trying to determine whether a unicorn has like unicorn has one horn, or if like other things that aren't like born with one horn can be a unicorn. And like it was such a very like trans and categorizational thing that like this thing that was supposed to be like a fun fake topic was like I was very passionate about it. And I was like, first of all, what is the purpose of this classification? Like, why are we making like is this determining who can join? Is this and like and like they were trying to keep it light and to like not engaging with my fucking question and like then they let's just move on to the next stage of the thing. It's like, okay, I'm out. I'm leaving this facilitation. Um, and so like I walked and like just stood around the corner, and then the teacher was like, okay, first of all, is this real, or is this playing a scene in the in the role play? I'm like, both. um, but then when I applied that training at my job one day, like we have these, every quarter we had these like play, learn whatever you want to do, and I was like a Skillshare kind of thing, and I was doing that, and we like had this conference room just like filled with like all of our like shared agreements like written down and all of our like goals written down and like just like in this conference room where the wall's completely papered with post-it tabs with what we're talking about. I felt like I was sort of like inside of my own brain, inside of our collective brain in a way that like I could actually like by having things fixed in a space, I could like look and reference them. Like I could feel drawn toward a particular bit of our shared purpose and like look at it, and that was and like that really felt like, oh, this is actually like an adaptive technology for being able to use our different brains together. So okay, that story is that my favorite facilitated space was one that I facilitated, but that wasn't the point. And maybe and like
I mean, now I'm like, why are you not facilitating? That's like literally what I was thinking, listening to you. Like, wait a minute, why have you never facilitated?
Oh.
It's, I mean, probably because it's not the same over Zoom. I actually took a Zoom facilitation class too, but like, I think we could, but again, and then again, it's like being in a room where you can all look at the same piece of paper with those things. Like like, leaving the office did like really kind of like ruin my career in the sense that like all of the skills that I had developed in like relating to other bodies in a space like were gone, and all I have is Zoom. And like, as much as I might resent being like motivated by other people's needs and desires, like it can be a useful skill in moderation when they're paying you to do stuff. But yeah, I could try. I could facilitate some stuff. I could use some practice too. Yeah.
I really hear you how it is so different whenever you're in a space with meat bodies and whatnot, and also even the like that was your really positive. That was the example of a really well structured space that you gave, and like you lost it. You can't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in the last 4 minutes. So next TFT we are going to do I'm going to send out the email to, after this meeting. And then, so we'll just do what we've had planned today for next. But in terms of like what we did today and kind of like our last few minutes, and I mean, it was a great discussion. I loved it, but I don't know what happens next. Are you going to say something?
I have a really like narrow, concrete question, Entangler. Just about like the way that you've had the non-explicit responsibility of coming, or the non-articulated responsibility of coming in and making sure that things are set up. You've been the one setting up the chairs for us. And I'm down to share that responsibility. And even like I don't know how that sounds to you. This isn't me like it's me asking if it's okay if I do that, or if that's a shared thing. It's hard to.
Oh,
I guess it's just kind of a check-in about that, because I know
it's like that is an interesting the way that the last thing you said, because like because like the thing that I'm getting tripped up on now is like, do people want to do it? It's like I don't want to. I don't mind doing it, but like I would love other people to do it, but I don't know if they want to do it. And what you're saying is like, oh, do you want to share it? Like, do I want to share this responsibility? So I'm wondering if that is the tension that is happening, or not that there's a tension, but like the unclear kind of intentional cuts or boundary structure. Is that like people are not sure who wants to do what and if it's okay to do the thing that someone looks like they're doing. Is that? Yes. Yeah, yeah. I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah.
And yes, yes, you can. Yes, you can definitely do it. I am like so happy with someone. I would be so happy if someone like had a coup, and not that there was like needs to be a coup, but like someone was like, Entangler, you got done. I'm taking over. I'll be like, yes, great. But but also we've talked about this before. I do have like control things, and I'm like, I'll just do it, but I'll do my now I'm gonna call it the admin service sub position. Meaning that like I do those things. Like how I said like sometimes I just take back the control, so I do that as well. But yes, I'd be happy if you wanted to do that.
I'll see what it's like next time. That'll be my responsibility next time, and let's experience what that's like.
Okay. I think the other thing, and you brought it up, was like people who are coming to come at the at 5 also. Because that's the other thing that I get like confused about. It's like, wait, should I wait? I mean, like you were here, so we could have started, but then I knew that Splash was coming, so I was like, maybe we should wait for Splash. So that's like the other, and then you brought that up, and so I was like, oh yeah, maybe that's a thing. Which yeah, so.
And a bit ago we were like, we're gonna do it this way now, which is we're gonna start right on time, and then we haven't touched base about if we want to keep on doing that.
Yeah. And the reason why we're doing that is because it's like a public, it's a live streamed show. That's the only reason, because like Rev School is not live streamed. We do record it, so it's a little looser. We don't have to, the only reason that was put into place is because we say that we're going to live stream at 5. So if someone decides, oh, I want to watch TFT and we're not on at 5, I don't know. So I would vote to keep it. And then this is where I trip up, where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep it, I'm gonna go, but then I'm like there, and I'm like, wait, do I start? Like maybe just a few seconds, I'll just and that's when things fall apart.
I get that, yeah.
So we can make a decision and say, like, no matter what, starting at 5 sharp.
I don't have a bodily no to that at all.
Splash?
I'm not setting up to be the one to start it, but I support it starting at 5 sharp. I've understood it to be starting at 5 sharp, so I support it continuing.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. And then so next time, which is in 2 weeks, Lamb's just gonna set up the stream.
Yeah.
And so then we just had to come at 5.
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's try it out.
Figuring things out.
That's how we did this meeting. We reaffirmed the 5-star.
Yeah.
Lambs is now going to do it for next time.
For next time. and maybe well, I think I have ability to do it if I just have the expectation of myself that I do it.
And also to let you know, and anyone who knows, like that stuff I don't really mind doing, also too. I think it's just more like, like how to get this fucking description done, or like how to, do the things that we're wanting to do.
Yeah.
But we're doing it.
You want to hold hands?
Yeah. Time to close the. All right. Oh yeah. Okay. Now we are all touching, at least in my screen.
Really? Okay. We're not all touching on mine, but I'm at least touching one of you.
Okay.
I could narrow my screen to try to have the same.
Oh
yeah.
right.
No. Okay.
Oh.
Should I have?
I can.
Do you want me to put my arm? Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So.
Our plan is in 2 weeks' time. We'll be here again, and we'll see y'all then, all of you who are going to be here.
And we are now deforming our TFT.
Okay.
All right.